So in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about why buying a business is a far better strategy than creating a business from scratch if you want to build wealth. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Prithvi Chauhan and I'm the founder of a healthcare investment company. And in the last few years, I have negotiated with several multi-million-dollar companies, including a $3.5 million company, a $10 million company, $25 million company, and even a $120 million company, as well as multi-billion-dollar public companies. Also, I have negotiated with, and I'm currently in business partnerships with several high-profile executives who are based in UAE, and one of them was a former CEO of a $3.5 billion company. And in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about why buying a business is a far better strategy than creating a business from scratch, especially if you want to create wealth, create generational wealth. So let's get into the reasons. There are 15 reasons that I have listed out that make buying a business a much better opportunity. So here they are. Number one, the revenues are de-risked. What do I mean by de-risked? When we start a company, typically it takes capital. You have to invest in infrastructure. You may have to hire employees. You may invest money in education, to develop skills. And you may, develop products and services. You may spend money on marketing. And there is no guarantee that all of this money that you spend is going to come back. You don't know the education that you took, you're going to pursue in life. A lot of the people, whatever they studied in college or university, it's not necessary that that's what they're going to pursue. Sometimes we change directions. So when we do change the direction, the money that we spent, we did not really get a return on that. Similarly, there might be products or services that you may develop that the market doesn't even need, or the market doesn't respond to, or it may be difficult to compete with an existing player who has most of the business. For example, Facebook and Instagram are an established player in the social media space. So if you were to start a social media company, even though there is a need in the market, somebody else is fulfilling that need. So just because there is a need and people value social media doesn't mean that you would necessarily be able to sell. So there is a significant amount of risk at the foundation years of a business. So when you buy a business, especially when you're buying a profitable business that has been around for 15, 20 years, that risk period is far gone. It's over. Money has been spent to create that revenue. Let's say the company is doing $1 million, $5 million, $10 million. The money that was spent to create that revenue is already spent. And now they have an established position in the market where year on year, they are making, couple of $1 million every single year. And if you look at financial statements of these companies, which I have looked at many companies' financial statements, you can see it's consistent. First year, they made $2 million. Next year, 2.1. Third year, 2.2. Fourth year, again, 2.1. Maybe they went down a little bit, but it's always in the same range with, 10, 15% reduction. It depends on the business, but the good businesses, they are slowly growing little by little. So that tells you that all the money that was invested is now de-risked, and the business has been brought to a point where it's producing revenue, which is extremely important. So when you go in, it has an established, revenue source, which you can see on paper. It's an actual fact. You are not doing projections. You're not looking at projections. But when you start a company from scratch, you are really imagining what might be the case. And there are too many uncertainties. You don't have established anything. So all of that capital is exposed in a very risky direction. Your capital and your time is exposed in a risky direction. So number one is de-risked revenue. Second is you're acquiring an established player So this business is not at a stage where it's struggling to compete, or it's struggling to make a name for itself. No, it already has customers. It's already established. It has established its value. It has established that it can deliver, and it's already competing. And the businesses that I'm talking about are, boring businesses, meaning it could be a healthcare clinic, a dental clinic. So these businesses tend to have stable revenues year on year. So it's an established player. You're not, getting involved in something that's new. And, it's been around for 10, 15 years. So it's an established player. And despite the competition, it's still producing revenue. So that's important. The third point is it's profitable from day one. Why is it profitable from day one? It's because you're only acquiring profitable companies. We are not acquiring something that's making a loss and then trying to flip it. That's not the business that I'm talking about. People do that, but what we are doing is buying businesses that not only have revenue, that has profit. So have you even heard about a business where, you almost have a guarantee that it's profiting from day one? Of course, there are risks involved. You need to make sure that it's not fabricated financial statements and business is actually legit, and you make sure that the revenue drivers are intact when you buy the company. But essentially, you have existing cash flow. You get into it from day one, and you have existing revenue and existing profit. So that's a big, big advantage. And that's a lot of certainty, especially when we are talking about something like entrepreneurship. That's a lot of certainty. Number 4 is past history is available for review. So when you are starting out on a business, you don't know whether something will work or not. You really don't know. You're speculating. There are indicators. You could look at data, but you don't know whether something will succeed or not. You don't know what will happen. So when a business has a past history, you can analyze the business through various economic cycles. And when you start a company, you don't know how the business would respond to maybe recession or macroeconomic factors, war. How did the business perform? How does the business perform in these conditions? But if it's an existing business, you could look at their financial statements, and financial statements record what happened during that time. For example, when COVID hit and the lockdowns were over and I was looking at businesses to buy, I started to look at their financial statements and I started to look at their 2020 numbers. And some of the businesses got wiped out, and the ones that survived that time show that they were very resilient businesses, that they could survive lockdown, they could survive a couple of years after that. And you could even see the numbers, how much they did in the lockdown, which is incredible. You can't really have that kind of an indication when you're starting a company and you don't have a company. So when it's an established player, its history is available for review. And all of it you can almost always see in the financial statements and several other documents, because a lot of it has to be reported. You can look at it in the tax returns, and what you can expect when the business is under pressure of something like COVID or recession or anything like that. So you have data available of how the business performed, and if it survived, then you are like, holy shit, they have established revenue and it survived this economic cycle. Okay, so number 5 is financing is available easily. Financing is available relatively easily. So when you start a company, you might have seen Shark Tank, where they go in and they want to do a pitch. And, most of the pitches that I have seen and that have gotten the best deals possible are not the best ideas, but the ones that had revenue, that had existing revenue and that were profiting. So the biggest valuations, the best deals, where they give out less shares in exchange for more money. Those types of deals happen not when something is vague on paper and it's just an idea phase. Those are not the ones that do well. The ones that do well typically are the ones where the founder says, we are making X number of revenue and this is our profit margin, and and we have been doing it for 1 or 2 years and we need capital to expand the business. That's the kind of pitches that get money, because it all boils down to sales. Money follows revenue, money follows profit, and money follows to people who don't need it, right? Who know how to multiply it. And those are the people who don't need it, those who do know how to multiply it. To give you an example, I was talking to a dental clinic. It was roughly about $2.5 to $3 million in revenue. And these guys had taken a loan a couple of years ago, and they had paid off the loan because the company was profitable. And the moment you pay off a bank loan that was on your company, your credit limit in the bank increases, probably 2-3 times. So your credit limit increases in a bank when you borrowed money and you paid off with interest. They have trust on you in your ability to multiply money. So they want to lend you more because you have proved that you know what you're doing financially. And you were able to generate profit, pay your expenses, and pay off the loan. So when there is a business that's profitable, it's in high demand with the banks for financing. And these businesses, so these owners were telling me that the bank, because we paid off the loan, they keep calling us. Do you want more? Do you want more? Because there are very few people who know how to multiply money. So once they find you that you're someone who multiplies the money, or this is a business model that multiplies money, they want to keep lending, and you keep paying off the loan and they want to lend you more. So that's the principle. So hence financing is available. Another relatively easily. So another indication is that I met a royal family member, which was introduced to me by one of my shareholders. And he sat down, and initially he was a little bit skeptical. So, healthcare had some issues in UAE and he was a bit skeptical, but he was there at the meeting. So I said to him this one thing. I said to him, listen, when you invest in the company, any company that we bring to you, we are not in the business of creating revenue. You're not investing in a concept. You will be investing in a business that's established. You will see the financial statements which actually have been produced, the money that actually has been produced. The revenue has been produced, the profit, you can see it on paper, the financials are audited by an external accounting firm. It's real, and you're buying something that's tangible and that has existed for 15-20 years. So you're not investing in some idea or, some possibility. This has become a reality now. What you have, something is real. So you will see each opportunity, how it's priced, what's the purchase price, what are the terms, and how much the business has been performing. And you would have that certainty. And his eyes lit up and he was like, I want to partner with you. I want to partner with you. And he was calling me and he was like, I can introduce you to people. And he was really excited. So investors are really, and the banks are really looking for certainty. The more certainty you can provide, the more evidence you can provide, the better. So that's financing when there are existing sales and profit. It's relatively easier. Doesn't mean you're going to get it every single time, but it's relatively easier. There are risk factors also which needs to be mitigated. Okay, number 6 is it has existing track record and history. Okay, so it's not, it ties up to the previous points that it has existed for the last 10-15 years. It's not something that was started yesterday. It's not something that was started last year. It was started 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and it has performed through those cycles. So existing track record and history. So number 7 is faster to buy than create. It's way faster to buy $1 million or a $10 million company than to create one from scratch. When you have to create a company, you will be looking at, first is your education. Especially if you want to do it in healthcare, you may have to get trained as a doctor, or if you want to open up a law firm, you have to get trained as a lawyer. Not necessary, but typically people do get trained, and you're spending 5 to 10 years getting educated, and then you develop skills. And then you have got market research, development of products and services, consulting lawyers, structuring legal agreements, doing research around, where to open the office, infrastructure, all of that time. And then you start testing the products and services with the market. And then you finally have the products and services refined, you have the market refined, then you have to look at market message, then hiring process, training the employees, establishing processes and systems. And not only that, but over time, as you're running the company, you are testing these things. You're testing various approaches and you're refining. So a business that's 17 years old, that business has gone through all of that refinement, all of that time. So, and it takes a lot of time to create something that's, worth $1 million or even, $10 million, and have achieved a position where customers are paying them that kind of money on a regular basis, on a recurring basis. So those types of businesses take a long time to create. So, if you have to start something and scale it to that level and be established at that level, it takes a long time. It can take 10, 15, 20 years. I've met business owners who have created companies that took them to their current level. They have been running it for last 17 years. So that's how long it took them. Maybe they got to the level they are in 5 to 10 years, but it's taken them a long time. But if you want to buy that business that's especially already profitable, has established revenue, has a good track record, you need, between 6 to 12 to 18 months based on the structure, risks, all of those factors. So that's how long it typically takes in the good scenario. In a valid scenario, that's how long it takes, around 12 to 18 months. You could acquire a company, but to create that company from scratch is going to take you a long, long time. So that's, point number 7. Point number 8 is better risk analysis. So when you again get into the business, initially, there are a lot of risks. There is a lot of uncertainty, there are a lot of risks. You don't know whether something will work out or not. So when you buy a business, you can perform a risk analysis better because you have material facts available to look at those risks. And which is an employee who is high performing. Most of the revenue could be linked with a few employees. You know who they are. You could look at the infrastructure, you could look at the machines, you could look at the business models, you could look at whether they have had lawsuits or not, right? Now you're looking at the past. When you are starting a company, you're looking into the future. And can you predict whether lawsuits will happen or not? You don't know, But when you have a business, you can see the history of lawsuits and how they dealt with it. You can see how the business performed in downtimes, recession, etc. So you have a better risk analysis when you buy a company. Number 9 is established relationships with customers. So whenever you get into business, something you start, customers are very skeptical. They don't want to spend money on a lot of money, especially on something that's new, right? Something that was never existed, has no track record, and had no clients. So customers are a little bit apprehensive at the beginning. But once they do business with you and you have delivered and they have benefited from your services or products, they keep coming back because they don't want to switch. They don't want to risk their capital, time, or health using something else that may or may not work versus something that's working. Once it works, the relationship is established and you want to keep coming back. So, the process of acquiring a customer is very tedious, and it takes time to earn their trust. It takes time to keep their trust. Once trust is established, it's, just a matter of walking into the business and just, paying for the services. And, I'll just have the usuals. The customer will come and say, oh, I'll just have the usuals. I'm just here for my laser treatment, just like what I did a couple of months ago, and I just want to continue. Or I just need a nurse like last time, it's the same issue, could you help me with that, etc., etc. So established relationship. Then you've got employees are refined. So as I mentioned, some of the employees can kill your company. And at the beginning, those employees might have weaseled their way inside the company and maybe spreading the toxicity, right? And the entrepreneur who created that business may have discovered that after some time, and they would have removed those people and they were replaced by better people who are more competent and who are actually making a contribution to the company and are not leeches who are just making the whole culture toxic. So those employees have been fired, and there are new employees which are good, and even with them, the boundaries have been set. So it takes a while when you hire someone to set the boundaries, what works, what doesn't work, to train them, to train them on various things. So all of that's been done, and what you have is employees that work and are producing money, and you could see those indications in the financial statements. And then you have number 11 is infrastructure is in place and the cost structure is in place. What do I mean by that? So again, initially when we are starting out into the business, we may buy or invest into items that are completely unnecessary. We may hire, certain staff members that are unnecessary, or we may spend money on furniture or machines that may be completely unnecessary. And sometimes we make those investments and it doesn't turn out. You don't have a return. So you remove those machines and you invest in new machines. For example, in a healthcare company, you buy a dental chair and that was not a good quality. So you change the dental chair, or you got one location in one place and business did not work out, but the same services in a different location, business works out. So there is uncertainty even around how to invest money to create this infrastructure. What items, what line items do you need? What objects do you need that can produce money versus that don't produce anything, that was actually not even needed and not even necessary, but you just, invested all of this money into it. And that happens at the beginning in the business because you're testing. So now, over 10, 15 years, the entrepreneur has tested, okay, these are the items that we need to run this thing. And it can produce millions of dollars, and all of this other fluff is not needed. You don't need chandeliers or whatever the hell, that they might have invested initially. They thought that thing was important, but it's not important to the customer. They may have discovered these hacks around infrastructure that, okay, if we invest in these few items, the business is going to make money no matter what. And these are unnecessary, and these 20% of items are really what's driving the entire business. So we need to keep this investment, and all of this extra fluff we can remove. So they have factored in all of that. I remember I was speaking with this dental clinic owner, and I said, could you reduce the costs to increase the profit? And he said, everything's been done, Prithvi. I have made it completely, I've removed all the fluff, and it's just what works. Every item in the clinic is really needed for the business. So I've removed all the fluff. It's been 10, 15 years we've been running this thing, and it's all clean. So that's, infrastructure is in place and cost structure is in place. That's what I mean by that. Number 12 is sweat equity is invested. Business doesn't just take money. It's not about throwing money onto the floor and just magic happens and just, like Disneyland is created just because you throw money on the table. It doesn't work like that. You have to invest time. There is effort, actual effort that's involved, and time is very precious. So it's not just your time, everybody else's time that has been invested to create it. and initial days maybe of a lot of hardships, long hours to do this testing and refinement of products and services in the market and the customers and the all of that. A lot of time has been invested, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years in some cases. One of the clinics I met, which was 17 years old, owner was 60 years old. So he has been working at that thing for 17 years. And you're not working as hard on the 17th year that you were working on the first few years, because more work needed to be done at that level versus when something is already established, and relationships have been established. So you are picking the cherry when it's ripe. That's the point that I'm making. Sweat equity has been invested. Established processes and systems. Systems and processes, how a business is run, how the customer enters the door, what do they see, how they are received in the company, how they are greeted, uniforms or, instruction to the employees, how they are guided into the clinic, how they are, made to sit. All of that has been refined. Some things work better than the other. Do you serve coffee or not? All of these things, the owner would have tested what works, what doesn't, and can easily educate you on that. It's, buying a business versus creating a business is like playing a game on PlayStation or creating a game. Creating a game is a different ball game altogether. But when you are playing the game, all you need to do is understand the rules. So similarly, when processes and systems are already established, all you got to do is understand from the owner, how does this thing work? And you could talk to your industry experts, which will be on your board. Okay, what experience have you had with these tactics, these techniques of inviting customers, guiding them, serving coffee, asking them what they need, etc., etc. So in customer service, all of those, everything is a process and a system, right? In a business, that's what it is. It's a system. So all of those things have been already established and they work. So number 14 is you're getting into an ownership position. When you reach out to these companies, you're not applying for a job. So this person is not going to be your boss. You're not going to be an employee of the company. You are going to be the owner of the company. And if you look at a company, if you analyze, most of the money goes into the owner's pocket. And employees get their salary, but most of the money the owner is making. So it's that position that you're acquiring. And you're not only acquiring one, but you may acquire several of those positions which exist in businesses that are highly profitable, that are highly stable. And within that business, there's the most powerful position at the top that you're acquiring of several businesses. So you have several established players and you're consolidating their positions and you're creating your position from their position. Their work that they put in to develop these companies, you're consolidating it into one. And that's the benefit of buying a company, is you are actually being the owner of these businesses. And most of the money is made when you are an owner, not an employee. Very few people have made money being employees. Most people make money being the owner. It's all about position. What position do you play the game from? Number 15, products and services are already developed and validated. I touched upon this a little bit, but I'm going to touch upon it again. At the beginning stages, products and services are not just come out of thin air. There is a lot of analysis, market analysis and testing that's done. You show one product, it doesn't work. Maybe you try a different product, and so many products are tested and so many services are tested. And finally, there is a unique set of products and services and combination of that with the right market. Because one thing is product and service and the other thing is buyer. You could have great products and services, but the wrong pool of market and nobody would want to buy, right? You can't sell English courses to people who live in London, who were born in London. It's not going to work. Even though the product is good, maybe if you sell it in Japan, China, Korea, those places it would be in high in demand. So it's all about market positioning, right? So it's not just products and services, but how the market responds to it. All of that's been established and it works. So you have all of these things established when you buy a business. You save time, it's de-risked, everything's established, there's a lot of certainty, there's a lot of data, and you can play with it. You have something to play with. And that's the point, that's the reason you would want to buy a business if you want to accumulate wealth than creating one from scratch. So if you're interested in getting involved in this business model of buying businesses, I have 2 mentorship programs, 2 structures. One of them is one-on-one, where you and I sit together and we, I train you into putting yourself in the position where you can buy a business. And so it's a one-on-one structure. It takes place over 12 to 18 months. So we do session 1, and you have to go and execute everything in the session 1. Only then we schedule the session 2. Then we do the session 2, and then you execute everything, and only then we do session 3. So it could take 6 months, it could take 12 months, it could take 18 months. But I have kept a large window of 18 months where you would have access to me, where I would take you on this journey on positioning yourself in a powerful manner to be able to do this. Second structure is the Group Mentorship Program. In this, you would have a group of between 3 to 5 people where we would get together, I would do the call, and then on top of it, you would have support directly with me, not any of my team members, with me directly in the WhatsApp group, directing the venture and making sure you are on track. So group session, structured over a couple of months where, we go step by step. The group mentorship is structured over 6 to 12 months. And you would have a WhatsApp support along with the group. And you get, in both the mentorships, specific scripts that I have developed over, with using, that were developed over hundreds and hundreds of presentations. When you meet sellers, when you meet board members, when you meet these individuals, they ask you tough questions. They ask you a lot of things. So how do you deal with those questions? How do you reach out to them? What do you say? Why do they respond in a certain way? What's going through their head? I'll cover all of that. I even cover, in some cases, what to wear, how to speak, everything. And we do mocks, we do role plays where I pretend to be the board member and then I interview you, or I pretend to be the banker or the seller, right? Or the law firm. So it's a very detailed oriented training programs. Doesn't matter what the structure that you choose. One-on-one is more intimate. The second one happens in a group. You can choose the one you like. So if you're interested, I have one of the group sessions is starting on 29th May 2024. And I've got 2 signups already. I've got 3 seats left. So if you're interested, reach out to me on any of the links below, and I'll talk to you from there. So that's it for today's video, and I'll talk to you soon.